Jonathan? What are you doing here so early? Is your alarm clock fast?
Public. This is my office, you know. I can come in early and toil through the day for the people who really matter any time I fancy.
Yeah, now there's just a few months to go until you're vanquished at the next general election. Things are so bad for Labour that even buying off ethnic minorities with extra rights or cash, or hiring as many people to work for the government as possible before threatening them with a sack under the Tories, can save you now.
Top-notch PC policies, and even they fail now. Well, that just goes to underline the whole urgency of my... Right, well, I've got to get started. I've got to get to work now.
Good. There's a huge raft of paperwork.
Vote Labour! I don't believe it! Vote Labour! I don't believe it! Vote Labour!
What are you doing now?
I'm getting into practice for the very next recording session at the Johnathan Leftwinger Studios, aka the constituency office.
Well, why'd you have to record here?
Well, I've got to do it somewhere, and the Chief Whip has told me off for the last time about using the parliamentary office. I don't see why. The parliamentary office is far more grandiose than this place. Well, I mean, it's the Palace of Westminster, for God's sake. You should be reasonable. I don't believe it. Vote Labour. I don't believe it. Vote Labour.
Well, why don't you use the proper recording studio, the one down the road? You built it and opened it.
Because that is for the specific use of lesbians, gays, Muslims, or just old-fashioned student radicals fighting the forces of button-down reactionary conservatism. The very people who hate them and want to ensure their complete destruction. Oh, yeah.
The one paid for with their taxpayers' money.
Yes, that's the one. It's overbooked. I don't believe it! Vote Labour! In fact, now that you've filled the constituency office with all these frivolous musical instruments...
On your orders.
A wise move. I think I can make the record right here and now. Let me go. Oh, yeah, good old Stradivarius, mate. I take good care of it. 1, 2, 3. This is going to be a blockbuster, by the way. You'll be so glad you stayed on to help the continuity of wise liberal power broken. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. I don't believe it. Vote Labour. I don't believe it. Vote Labour. I don't believe it. Vote Labour. I don't believe it. Labour. Oh, yes, mate. Policy gold! Ah, that was good. Another quality, mind-opening left-wing power tune in the can. All right, I admit it may need tightening up a bit, and maybe even a chorus with it. But it's still not a bad rap demo.
Why?
Well, New Labour is a doers movement, and somebody has to record the follow-up to Things Can Only Get Better. All right, it saw us to the top of the charts before, but we can't use that song again.
I thought you liberal turd pipes were keen on recycling rubbish.
But things have only gotten better under Labour. But if the public hear that again, they'll still think there's been no large net benefit under 12 years of us, mate.
But Labour people are still always talking about how things can only get better.
Well, look, you're only interfering with my creative muse just because you're jealous. The fact is, you have to know the audience. There's no point in debating sagely and rationally with the public. You've got to patronise them and play them records. I mean, it suits their intellectual level. Particularly nowadays when they realise they've been so-called tricked. Just like children they are, they never know when the medicine's good for them.
God. All right, get on with it.
Now, this next song was inspired by the hostility and alien universe of most of the public. I mean, how Labour can adequately destroy the hateful supremacist Britain of old while still appeasing the likes of them is beyond me. That's been the great conundrum of the intelligentsia for decades now, mate. Hence this powerful and soulful track which just can't go unrecorded for the good of left-wing person-kind.
Bloody hell.
And so when we in the Red Brigade get to this point in the debate, all that's left is to sing and play now that we have no hope of debating properly anymore. You just make sure you get this masterwork down. Yes, I'm the chief proponent of my craft here.
All right, your Fisher-Price recorder's still on.
Go left-wing folk rock. Everybody knows that the public are dickheads. Oh yeah, everybody knows that the public are too lazy to reach the exalted levels of epiphany which we in the left wing... Oh, hang on a minute. It's a bit difficult to play as well as... All right, we'll forget the guitar for the time being. And I say, the public are far too ignorant to reach the exalted levels of leadership which we've attained. And the public always complain we don't do the best for them, but all they've got to do is compete with us by standing in election. If they want the job done, they should do it themselves. You see? Don't I feel like I've won? And I must have done. If the public wants true democracy, they should expect to participate in the democratic process rather than just sit on the sidelines giving their orders to people in Labour and the thumbs down like some Roman emperor. With authoritarianism like that, it's no wonder we in the establishment have to deal with the BNP threat of our own so-called making.
All you've got to do is burst the Westminster bubble to get back in touch.
Yeah, and surrender to the public, telling those ill-informed oafs that their values are superior to ours by it. As if. You've got to beware of the public, you know. They're even capable of bringing down the governments of Eastern Europe in one go. That's why we need an EU superstate to keep them back in their places. And lots of consumerism now there's no heavy industry to work at anymore. Well, you've got to keep them occupied. Vote Labour!
And that's why the status quo's so good, is it?
Yeah, well, I sung it, didn't I? But you out there, you just... public, you just get a life! Buy the album, Vote Labour! Both will be tantalisingly available in huge quantity in a few months' time, mate.
Knob end.